So, hello, Peter. Thank you that we can have this talk together. It's great to have you in our area day of fellowship here in Hamburg and in the northern part of Germany. First of all, I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to have an interview with you in this way, Peter. We've known each other for a couple of years now. You made an impact on my ministry, both in the Netherlands by then and now here in Germany. And as you know, we talked about it earlier already, not on camera, that we have invited Runde today to talk with us about the future of the church. Peter, even though you live in Melbourne, Australia, Europe is not a strange territory for you. No. And you know quite a bit about also the European setting. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and especially about your experience in Europe.
Thank you very much, Martin, and it's great to be with you and with the fellowship in Hamburg today. Lovely to share with you. Yes, I've been to Europe many times, and then for 10 years served in the Trans-European Division, during which time I had the opportunity and the privilege of being in Germany also many, many times. And so it's really great to share. Sometime in the distant past, I also spoke at a regional meeting in Hamburg. So it's great to be with you again on this Sabbath, and delighted to team up with Runde on the theme of the Church of the Future. I've written the book, Your Church Has Changed, which you've translated and published and releasing in Germany. And that highlights some really important principles for us to explore.
Yeah, yes, indeed. The book is translated in German. Unsere Kirche nach Corona is the title, which it has in German. And well, I think that topic keeps us busy, Corona. I think we are pretty tired at the moment of this whole thing. And everybody is tired of the rules and regulations. But you are saying in your book that it actually gives us a huge chance, a very good opportunity. Can you collaborate on that for us?
Yes, I think the question that I've faced more than any other, especially in the last 6 months, from conferences, from gatherings of pastors and church members and mission agencies of Adventists and other Christian agencies, has been the question, what is church? Because not only has the world changed around us, but the nature of what we've experienced as church has changed quite dramatically. And as you say, people are anxious. Many of us are fearful, not quite sure what the future may hold as far as our own health and relationships are concerned. And church has been challenged as well. But Martin, I think there are real opportunities. Mm-hmm. We need to go back and look at what was Jesus' idea of church, and how did the Holy Spirit lead the first believers to translate that idea of church into reality and into life. Now, I'm not suggesting that we simply return to the first century. That's not possible. And not everything about the first century, the second century was positive. But if we're going to talk about church, we need to go to the one who is the Lord of the church. He spoke of my church. Yes. And we need to look at what Jesus had to say about church, and then how this was understood as the Holy Spirit led the early believers. And we will gain significant insights into how to move forward. It's going to be very different, but some really positive insights into how to move forward. More relational, more local, more connected to our local communities. So instead of going to church, we're going to be the church where we are. Instead of leaving our neighbours and waving goodbye to them on the Sabbath and going away to another place, we're going to look for opportunities of church right where we are. So I wrote if your church is closed, be the church. Then I wrote this book, Your Church Has Changed. And then recently I've written another small book called When Your Church Goes Home.
Yes, yes. Yeah, well, so you're basically saying we need to get away a little bit from this idea, and this is also what you wrote in your book, basically to get away from the idea of a consumer church, no?
Yes, very much so. Of course, I think the way forward is going to be hybrid. I think the way forward is going to be in-person worship for some in church buildings, continuation of church for others online, and then gatherings in smaller groups in relational streams closer to where we are. And they may take many different forms in homes, in cafes, in school rooms, in library discussion rooms, in parks, in gardens, according to the climate, quite close to where we are, and also take into account the various concerns that some have. Some need to be in environments where it is totally COVID safe, where they know everybody has been vaccinated. Others are not so much concerned about that or even have a conviction against that. So we need to provide those many opportunities.
And what I hear you saying, so in between the lines, is also that we will have these kind of meetings more often, you know, this online talking with each other through a digital means, and that will be much more church, as I understand.
Yeah, I think that if I was a local pastor or district pastor now, I'd be doing all of my organizational meetings online. Mm-hmm. A board meeting should never, ever go longer than 1 hour at any time. But when you have to get ready and travel, and then you have a board meeting, and then you travel home, that can easily take up 3 or 4 hours. Whereas now board meetings, business meetings, elders meetings, organizational councils, etc., can all be done online. And we can also interact with Bible work and Bible study during the lockdown. My wife and I continued to engage with our neighbours. We would get a hot drink, sit in our home, they'd get a hot drink on FaceTime or Zoom or some other platform, and we could have a hot drink together and talk together. Yeah, that's right. But it builds on relationships usually that we've already established. So church will take many different forms, and the pastor will be more the coach with the elders, intensely involved in coaching, equipping, but not just the only teacher in this environment.
Mm-hmm. And the social...
We found that discovery Bible reading is a great way to go, so that in every group, the pastor knows, right, this group is reading through the Gospel of John, this group is reading through the book of Hebrews, this group is, and so elders and pastors can coach and equip, and everybody's on the same page, as it were. We still have the same vision and the same mission, but we'll have variety according to the individual context.
Yeah. And what I was going to ask is the whole concept of the socializing will get a much deeper impact, I believe, because you can really get into the socializing, and you don't need to do the board meetings or, you know, all these kind of things in person, because when you're together, you know.
Yeah, and at that local level, right in my community, with my neighbours, with contacts and associates, we're fulfilling the purpose of the church: worship and service, meeting the needs of people, and actually quite naturally making disciples, drawing people into close fellowship, not just where we come along, hello, brother, sister, and we don't even know the person's name. Here we'll actually know the experience of people, so we'll grow as obedient disciples.
Yeah. Peter, I would like to talk to you probably as a last topic, because we don't have that much time. But as a church, people also look at us, you know, and especially when we deal with relationships, you know, which we are just talking about. and on even more sensitive topics like how we treat women, or how we treat people of different sexuality or from a different background or a different color. The world is watching us. And we see this right now within the Catholic Church, especially, and especially here in Hamburg at the moment. This is a huge issue in the last year. What would you say should be our role as a church in society?
That's a very important question. And of course, when people are impacted negatively by the experiences in, for example, the Catholic Church or other denominations, that impacts the Adventist Church as well, because people see this as all part of what Christianity is about. And what I'm suggesting is that one of the really significant ways to create a more positive environment is if we're actually being church right in our communities. They will see that the gospel that we adhere to actually treats people with equality. So they'll see that there's equality and between there's shared life and ministry, whether male or female, Jew or Gentile, slave or free, whatever our background. So the issues of gender equality, the issues of how we treat people of different sexual backgrounds, the way in which we treat people of different race. So these issues of gender and sexuality and Black Lives Matter and those sort of issues are really critical issues, and they'll actually see us in our fellowship right in our community relating positively and addressing these kinds of issues. So let's not step away from these. The gospel addresses all of these issues and brings us into one body through Jesus Christ. And so it's going to be more complex, but very exciting to be involved in church and mission as we go forward.
Yes. Well, your church, my church, our church have changed. And I think that's what you've written very well in your book. And thank you for writing this. And thank you so much for extending on the book right now here with us in Hamburg. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Peter.
Thank you very much, Martin. And God bless you. And God bless you all this Sabbath as you interact and worship and share and dialogue together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.